So here we are in the garden of Budget Lady, and this is the F-107C as used by the Malagasy Whatifians between the early 1960s and 1995, primarily to counter the French and Soviet threats. This is of course the Trumpeter kit, which I've modified. Interesting kit. It's one of their earlier kits. It does have some fit issues and some build areas where you have to be a bit careful, but otherwise it's genuinely a nice kit, probably around the standards of like an earlier Hasegawa kit. Of course, the F-107 was famous for having this variable intake above the cockpit, which, if you think about forward operating areas and the fact that this, like the F-100, could operate from some pretty rough terrain, you got very big stocky undercarriage there. That makes sense in terms of foreign object damage. Also a nice, easy to climb into low cockpit, a bit like the F-20 Tiger Shark. 4 cannons, 20mm cannons, radar. I've given it an air refueling point here, which I think would be really good for an interceptor, and just done it in my Whatif scheme of light gold grey to give it a kind of air defence vibe, because these were used by Interceptor Command in the Whatif. And the kit itself has actually got some really nice recessed panel lines. I've just picked out these for kind of radar warning receivers. So these operated with my Hustler sectors, around 50 to 60 in service, protecting the Malagasy Whatif homeland and taking over from the Sabre hogs. I've given it 2 AIM-9J, because this is a sort of 70s configuration, Sidewinder missiles, and 2 AIM-7E Sparrows. Of course, it's got the early conformal fuel tank system under there, which is quite cool because it's a low drag fuel tank. You can drop that tank in combat, and the F-107 would have been extremely manoeuvrable. A 24,000 pound engine. Just picked out the cannons there and given it some light weathering from maybe a bit of firing at some French Mirage 4s. Never fired a shot in anger, these didn't, until the Gulf War of 1991. I'll do a Gulf War version. Rob asked me to add a fake cockpit canopy underneath, and I found one in the spares transfer box. I will be adding some over-wing missile rails for the Gulf War version to give it more of a kind of a Jaguar lightning feel. Now, it may seem a bit strange why I didn't use the lightning in the interceptor role. Interceptor Command got the FB-58A Hustler Scepter, and they got the F-107 Ultra Sabre, as this is often called. It was never an official name, but the Ultra Sabre has longer range than the Lightning to begin with, especially with that conformal pod underneath. Also a Mach 2 aircraft, got decent radar there, and for me this is kind of an analogue of the F-106, but probably I would say actually a better performing aircraft all round. It was interesting that it was never adopted. Now, some people say, oh well, they never managed to get the intake to work properly. Other people say, well, yeah, they did manage to get the intake to work properly. So it really depends on who you read and what viewpoint you form. Personally, I think what happened, and this is my theory, is that if they hadn't selected the Republic F-105, Republic would have gone bust because they didn't have any other contracts in the pipeline, and most arms procurement decisions are actually political, so therefore it makes sense for Republic to have the F-105. At the time, North American were working on the XF-108 Rapier. You've got the Vigilante and Navy service. You've got the Lockheed Starfighter and bribery scandals in Germany. But if you don't have the F-105, Republic goes bust. That's a whole load of voters that have lost their jobs. So, yeah, I do think there was a lot of politics involved in the decision. I could be wrong. I wasn't there. But the Malagasy's got these. Some of if their associates got them. I think it's a lovely little aircraft. I may do the Gulf War one. I've got one more in the loft somewhere. Ta-ra.